Eating out etiquette during a pandemic. Dining out has always had its own set of etiquettes, but the post-COVID era necessitated an entirely new set of etiquettes. In the midst of the pandemic, the reopening has resulted in a new set of restrictions for guests to observe. While pre-COVID eating etiquette included no elbows on the table, not being nasty to staff, and waiting until everyone at the table had completed their dinner, the rules have radically changed post-pandemic. Now you're supposed to follow a whole new set of guidelines in order to eat out safely in the event of a pandemic. Select the appropriate restaurant, and we don't mean by popularity. While governments are beginning to allow restaurants to serve dine-in customers, the risk of catching the infectious disease remains. We're all starving for social engagement outside of our own homes after lockdown. Whether it's a Friday night at the pub or a Sunday afternoon brunch, dining with friends and family is no longer a distant memory. While all food facilities were forced to close down at the outset of the pandemic, the new unlocking guidelines have allowed them to reopen for business. If you really want to eat at a restaurant, look for one that has frequent sanitizing procedures, outdoor dining, and is operating at 50% capacity. Restaurants that appear to be overcrowded and unable to conform to social distance norms should be avoided. Following your selection of a suitable restaurant, it's also critical that you arrive on time for your reservation, if you've made one, or to avoid peak hours when the restaurant is likely to be crowded. 1. It's all about the timing. Being on time is critical in a time when restaurants are operating at 50% capacity and working hard to accommodate all of their customers. It's preferable to keep the meal short because prolonged exposure has been related to an increased risk of transmission. Once you've settled in, take your time deciding what you want and placing your order all at once. This not only speeds up the preparation of your food, but it also reduces the number of rounds the servers must make to and from the kitchen. Prevent the restaurant's busiest hours to avoid large crowds, and choose their opening or closing times to ensure a small number of people surrounding you. 2. Wear your mask all of the time except when eating. Many nations have made it illegal to wear masks in public, and it is even illegal to wear one inside a restaurant. While some restaurants have allowed customers to remove their mask once inside, it is recommended that they wear it at all times, especially when ordering and talking with waiters. While it is permissible to remove your mask while eating or drinking, it should be stored in a sterile environment. It appears that keeping it on one's lap or in a handbag while eating is a reasonable alternative. However, the mask must be worn when entering, exiting, or engaging with anyone on the eatery's premises. Once you've entered the premises and taken a seat, it's critical that you follow proper table manners, not only to appear courteous but also to maintain good hygiene. 3. Table etiquette is still a thing. Basic table manners, which we were taught as a child to be nice, have now become a requirement. Sharing food is regarded as a sign of love, although it is not advised to do so at this time. If you're sharing a dish with a large company, make sure everyone uses a different spoon just to be safe. Dining out with friends is a highly private experience right now, so think twice about who you'll be dining with at your favorite restaurant. 4. Carefully select your social bubble. It may be tempting, now that restaurants are reopening, to throw a large brunch with all your friends you haven't seen since the lockdown, but it's best to keep parties small, especially when dining out. It's crucial to be surrounded by people you can trust to use the same protection strategies as you. And keeping your circle small will help prevent the coronavirus from spreading. While a large group reunion could be desired, eat in smaller groups and make a reservation for a table of 4 to 5 persons. 5. Be patient and understanding. I used to dislike restaurant security inspections, but it's critical to follow the restaurant's standard operating procedures, SOPs, especially after COVID. The restaurant's actions, such as taking temperature readings, requesting your contact information in case someone tests positive, or extending the time it takes to obtain your table, should be addressed with your understanding. Because they are also working with fewer restaurant employees, it is crucial to be patient if your dinner takes a little longer than usual. Because touching increases the danger of transmission, be aware of the restaurant's new payment policies. 6. If at all possible, avoid using cash. Dealing in cash has always been risky, but it is now even riskier. If feasible, use touch-free transactions to pay your account, but if you must use a card, make sure to wipe it down before and after you hand it over. Bring your own pen if you need to sign a bill or fill out customer care cards, and remember to hand it back to the busser with a hand sanitizer. 7. Bathroom etiquette has changed. Going to the restroom brings new concerns, from doorknobs that would be handled by many to trouble maintaining social distance standards while waiting in line, and it may be best to hold it in until you get home. If you must go, observe the basic rules of wearing your mask at all times, washing your hands after touching any surface, and avoiding being in close proximity to anyone. 8. Give a little more than normal in terms of tips. Right now, dining out is a luxury, and going the extra mile to support those who are risking their lives to make it possible for you is necessary. It may also aid in the support of your local companies, which have been the hardest hit by the lockdown. Most restaurant workers were obliged to return to work in order to keep their jobs and benefits, and while a tip may not be enough to compensate for this, it can be a little sign of thanks for their service during these difficult times. So, while these suggestions may be considered the new standard for dining out during certain times, the big concern remains: is it truly safe to dine outside at this time? Many experts believe that, depending on the number of diseases in your area, dining out can be safe as long as the restaurant follows all SOPs and health requirements to prevent infection among its patrons. While eateries bear some obligation for keeping the atmosphere safe, we all bear equal responsibility for not contributing to the virus's acquisition or transmission. Following these new post-COVID etiquettes, as well as simply being mindful and considerate, we may not only be making our lives easier, but also theirs. However, nothing can be guaranteed, and even some experts warn that while eating on outdoor seating may provide a modest risk, the possibility still exists. While we may wish for our life to return to the pre-COVID era, we must keep in mind that the virus still exists, and measures against contracting it must be taken at all times. If you're seriously concerned about the risks of eating out, ordering takeaway and staying at home might be the best alternative. After all, why do something that may bring you unnecessary anxiety?